One of the main reasons people struggle to set boundaries is not because they don't have them. It's because they are afraid of the consequences. They think by themselves, what if I say something that backfires? Or what if I suddenly come across like unreasonable? Or what if I do something that damages the relationship? So instead we let things just happen. It's even so bad that people are twice as likely to stay in a situation which is obviously bad for them than that they take the shot at something better but unknown. Which rationally really doesn't make a lot of sense, but psychologically there is an explanation. We as humans fear uncertainty. And when we can't see how a situation will play out, we simply stay where we are. So what we need to do is make the unknown more predictable. And really think through how a situation can also unfold in a positive way. So we find the courage to set boundaries for a happier and more fulfilling life. Hi, I'm Tom and welcome to the Dopamine Factory, where we aim to understand life and craft daily happiness. And today we're going to simulate a real life example where boundaries are being crossed. But instead of panicking, freezing and making worst case assumptions about the person in front of us, we are going to slow things down and unfold the situation step by step. With the goal to show you the different ways a situation can actually unfold. We're going to do this by first looking at the intention of the person crossing your boundaries. Next, we're going to look at what happens inside of you, after which we're going to look at the different choices you have to respond. Then we're going to look at how the other person might respond, and then we have an analysis of the possible long-term consequences, which will show you that things are almost never as bad as they seem in the moment when your mind goes fight or flight. So let's get into it. And the scenario we're going to break down is about setting physical boundaries, which is actually a topic you might know from the previous video. Check it out. It's about a kid playing with his toy truck and really enjoying its life, until suddenly a bigger kid walks over, takes the toy truck and just walks away. How do we respond? Let's first unpack the intention of someone crossing your boundaries and taking something from you actually don't like to share. There are multiple reasons why people would do this. Often it's just simple self-centered desire. People see something, they like it, they take it. It's not in any way personal, the thing just happens to be from you. Now, sometimes it can also be jealousy. They see you having fun with their toy, they also want to have fun, so they just take it. And then lastly, it can also be that the other persons are simply bored, so they take something from you just to get a reaction. Now, while saying this, it is good to understand that in many cases people do not know that something matters to you. And they assume that if something matters to you, that you will simply speak up. Which teaches us something important. Most boundary violations are not planned or malicious. It's simply people acting in their own interest, not being stopped by yours. So to prevent this, we simply need to learn how to set boundaries. Now let's zoom in on your side and let's see what happens inside of us the moment someone crosses our boundaries and reaches into our space. In most people, it instantly triggers FUD, where the F stands for fear. The moment someone violates our boundaries, our mind directly goes, what is happening? Is it safe? Is the situation worth it? Directly followed by the U from uncertainty. What do I do now? Can I take it back? What happens if I act? And then lastly there's doubt. Meaning that in the moment so much is happening that your brain needs a few seconds to process. And exactly that moment is killing. As most boundary violations happen because of these few seconds of doubt. To only later think, why did I not say something? Or I should have acted in that way. And let's be fair, everyone can be the hero of their own story after the fact. But what we really need to learn is to stand up for ourselves in the moment, so we can act in real time. So what reactions can we give when someone crosses your physical boundaries and takes something from you don't like to share? There are basically three types of responses. Firstly, you don't do anything. You freeze and the other person simply gets away with it. Also signaling to the world that there's basically no cost for crossing your boundaries. Secondly, we can respond passively and say something like, "Hey, don't do that. I don't like that." By which you say the words, but it's so soft that you're also easy to ignore. Or thirdly, we respond assertively and state with a clear, calm tone, "This is not acceptable." You simply take back what he took from you and then outline the consequences will it ever happen again. In short, you set a boundary. Because boundaries only become real when the friction you feel by them crossing your boundaries are also felt by them when you set your boundaries. Because without this, the boundary only exists in your own mind. Now we come to the part most people are afraid of. What happens when you set a boundary? What are the long-term consequences? What will happen? In reality, most people will simply adjust to your response. Meaning that if you don't set a boundary, not a lot will happen. And people will likely not even be aware that they crossed your boundary. If you push back slightly, saying stuff like, "Hey, I don't like that," people will likely respond slightly. Some might simply ignore you. Others might try to adapt, but also figuring out what needs to happen. But overall, it just remains quite vague what you want now. Now compare this with setting a clear boundary. This is important to me. I demand it back now. In this case, most people crossing your boundaries will immediately respond. People that didn't recognize that they crossed your boundaries will simply give it back and even apologize. The ones that were testing your boundaries will likely just simply back off, and only a small fraction will still persist. The lesson here is that most people don't want to cross your boundaries that badly. They are just exploring what is possible. But the moment it requires effort or they face resistance, the juice is generally no longer worth the squeeze. So we need to set our boundaries. To summarize, many people struggle to set clear boundaries because they are afraid of the consequences. But why? What is really the worst that can happen? In most cases, people will simply back off. But even if they don't, and we get a problem, then what? Because let's be real, the moment someone crosses your boundaries, that problem already exists. You're just the only one paying for it by not speaking up. So by setting this boundary, we rather solve a problem. And yes, this might create some short-term tension, but ultimately prevents a lot of suffering in the long run. So dare to set those boundaries for a happier and more fulfilling life. And of course, if this content resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'd then love to see you in the next one. Much love, Tom.